When I tell you, it's getting darker. And Nancy Grace is getting closer and closer to this case. In this video, we got Nancy Grace exposing the truth. We have YouTubers that are exposing the truth, teats or tails in this. We also have so many TikTok users that exposing the dark truth of Nolan Wales' story. The truth that the white boys on that boat do not want you guys to know, the truth that Turning USA don't want you to know, the truth that Brandon Tatum don't want you to know, that are afraid for you to know, but you guys need to hear what's going on. And people are not giving up on Nolan Wales. Shout out to Nancy Grace, Tisa Tales, Willie D, all the great YouTubers and TikTok users, Pink Panda, that is constantly breaking down, because when it comes to getting the truth of Nolan Wales, we cannot trust the police. We cannot trust the state of Mississippi. We cannot trust the government. Nothing. We cannot trust anybody but ourselves. So we have to do our own investigations, because the only investigation the police is doing is a cover up. They're trying to investigate to see how they can cover this up, so they can get away with unaliving Nolan Wales. We know it's not a drowning. We know that for sure. So let's see. And we know that Brandon Tatum lied, that it was sugar boogers in his system. It was never sugar boogers in the system. The toxicology report has been done, and they said it was no drugs in his system. So that was a lie from Turning Point USA / Brandon Tatum. So let's see what's going on. I need you guys to watch, listen closely, comment. I want to know what
They killed Nolan Wells on the boat.
That is a claim you cannot casually scroll past. But before we decide whether that statement means anything, I want you to hear where this conversation is coming from, because this case has reached a point where there are now two very different things happening at the same time. Online, people are building theories around Nolan's final hours. Meanwhile, Nolan's estate is pursuing records that could help establish what actually happened. And that distinction matters, because theories can spread in seconds. Records are much harder to argue with. You're watching the Black Docket. We follow the documents, the timelines, the recordings, and the evidence, not just the loudest theory on the internet. And if you're here because you want to follow this case as these developments unfold, subscribe to the Black Docket. We're not here for one viral upload. We're building a community that's going to stay with the story. And before we get into the clips, tell me where you're watching from. City, state, or country. I want to see how far this Nolan Wells watch room has reached. Now listen carefully.
Hey y'all, hey. I got this video a couple of days ago, and I've been kind of like not really interested to see it, but I finally just said, what the heck, let's listen to what he has to say. So let's listen to him.
They killed Nolan Wells on the boat. They covered him up with the life jackets. They all knew he was on the boat. They just laid him on the back of the boat and got towed in part of the way. Then they got their boat running and they got on in. And when they got in, they couldn't figure out where they were going to put him or what they were going to do. So they dropped everybody off. Then they went back out to the island that the GPS doesn't show, but they did, because they disconnected it. Okay? And none of them had their phones with them when they went back. So there wasn't any trace of them going back. And they dumped the body. They came back, took the boat out of the water, then went over there at 3 a.m. and washed the boat, thinking washing the boat would get all the DNA and everything off the boat.
Now, after you've listened to it, I'm sure that you got the same thing that I have. I don't think that he's describing what happened or like if he had firsthand knowledge of what happened and things of that nature. I think what he is doing is saying that this is what he heard on one of the panel's lives or something of that nature. And he is saying that these content creators, TikTok creators, we are the best investigators out there, and that the police or investigators, or if there are any in this case, should look into the things that we have researched, because he feels that we're spot on. Now, the DA and Warren might have released some stuff on Nolan's birthday, but Miss Christine came back and checkmate on them, because she went and had her attorney subpoena. She subpoenaed Sea Tow Services and Water Marine Services that operates at South Mississippi, because she wants all the data, videos, cameras, anything from the time at 2 to 8 p.m., anything surrounding Nolan being on Horns Island, the protocols, and she also wants the manuals to what if something happens. Like, they want all the shenanigans, all the shebang bang bangs. Y'all gonna stop playing with Miss Christine, because checkmate, check the freaking mate. And I don't care what y'all say about Miss Christine. I don't care what y'all try to paint this narrative about Nolan or how she's like, but she's not playing with y'all. Y'all can go have several seats, and I'm pretty sure that there'll be more subpoenas coming around for y'all, because she's not playing. She's not playing. She's going to get answers. She's going to get some justice for her son. We're going to get answers for her son. Not check. Hey, y'all. Hey. So I know that people are starting to question this image, and I'm glad that they are starting the conversation about the image before me, because when I looked at it, when it originally came out, I zoomed in specifically into this in space, and I was thinking, like, does that look like a bunch of people laying, sunbathing, or anything in that nature? Or is it looking like what is that? So let me show you the picture I'm talking about. Now, you guys always know me. I'm sharing. I'm not alleging. I'm not accusing. I'm just asking questions. So pipe down with all that other conversation. But you tell me what you see, and let's dialogue about that. Because when this image literally first came out, it really took me back. Mind you, the other 3 boats that are there, but specifically zooming in into this location, it was taking me back. So what do you see? Because I'm not going to say anything. What did you see? And let's talk about it.
There is an investigation happening, and the paperwork matters. While you watch me scroll through the Jackson County Chancery Court website, understand what you're looking at. These are real court filings, including updated subpoenas issued today seeking records connected to the sea tow call and towing activity. And that is only part of it. There are multiple filings, requests, and legal steps happening behind the scenes. The fact that the official autopsy has still not been publicly released also tells us this process is not finished. We should not confuse a lack of public information with a lack of activity. So don't lose hope. Don't assume nothing's happening. There's a lot happening. At the time, the public is investigating too. People are going back through interviews, timelines, statements, screenshots, and records, and they are noticing something important. What was said at the beginning does not always match what is being said now. The interviews that were supposed to settle the narrative are creating more questions. We are seeing contradictions between different accounts. We're going to continue breaking those statements down, especially statements made by Warren Hudson against the timeline, the records, and what was previously said. This is why we keep saying, follow the documents, follow the timeline, follow the evidence. We check power, not people. This is the Free Press Action Network, so stay tuned. We have much more coming, and make sure you're following Free Press Action Network across all platforms. Stay tuned.
You guys, a new update in the Nolan Walls case, and baby, when I say this changes everything, it changes everything. A new star witness has come forward in the Nolan Walls case that completely destroys the police narrative and the DA narrative. You guys, when I tell you this star witness is literally a force of nature, it is a force of nature. Okay, so what am I talking about, right? Remember when all this happened, right? Go back to a time before you knew who Officer Django was. I know, I wish there was a simpler time. Okay. And Warren was out there on Horn Island looking like just cold-blooded, in my opinion. Talking about some, people die out here all the time. I don't know know a lot of people that have died out here, right? And it set the stage. It set a narrative. It locked in a narrative that the police, the governor, the DA, all those boys' parents, and everybody, in my opinion, hid behind. Well, baby, this star witness has come forward. And when I say it's a force of nature, it's a force of nature. Who is this mysterious star island? I wrote my own bill. Who is this mysterious star witness? Baby, the star witness is Horn Island. Now, stop. Before you be like, T, someone hurt you. You just wasted my time. No, I didn't. Because People Magazine have unearthed the fact that in Horn Island, nobody has died from drowning in the last 6 years. And more importantly, even if you go into a decade or 2 decades ago, at most a handful of people, and we're talking 2, 3, 4 people, have passed away on Horn Island or from Horn Island drowning. Again, nobody has died, nobody has drowned on Horn Island in over 6 years, and before that is a sprinkling. Why is this so important? Because you guys, the nature, the geography, the currents is literally what blows this case apart. Let me explain. I had the receipts, and I promise by the end of this, yeah, you might agree with me too. All right, so where do we start? Let's get into this. Okay, first, let's talk about what I want to call the perjury trap, all right? Y'all remember, the boys came out there and started saying, right from the gate, saying people die out here all the time on Officer Tatum's interviews, on the media, on the news, everywhere they could. Now, why is that important? Because some people say that this proves that they were setting a predetermined narrative that they knew was a lie. Okay? How do we know it's a lie? Because and let's make sure we're right, the official Jackson County coroner records, okay, published in People Magazine, but more importantly, it's in Jackson County and it's in federal, right? The federal systems, right? They just stepped in and proved that nobody's drowned in over 6 years. Now, hold that snapshot right there, because why is this so important? Why is this a star witness? First thing we have to ask, who gave those boys a narrative? Okay? Who gave those boys a narrative that, oh, was it the police? Did the boys say something? And the police were like, don't worry, people die out there all the time. And it locked in a narrative that stuck in the boys' head, but more importantly, it's stuck in everybody's head saying, you just need to accept Nolan drowned. Nolan drowned. Now pause right there, because now we have the splinter, okay? Materials and written procedures for handling reports and boats taking on water and sinking. The War Marine subpoena goes even deeper. She wants all calls tied to the incident, including dispatch calls and communications between the captain, local crew, and people connected to the boat. She also wants all other communications about the incident and records showing whether any of them changed or ended CTO's response. Woo! Now listen, I know what you're saying. T said it seems standard. This is not standard. This is a checkmate. When I say this is Thanos with the affinity ring coming in around the DA and being like, oh, and that grand jury, please. Okay, so let me break it down why this is so amazingly good, but also amazingly bad for the DA and the locals that want to keep complete control and secrecy over the case. All right. This is an absolute masterpiece. Let me start off by saying of civil litigation. Hands up to Ahmad R. Smith law firm, okay? Because here's the thing, you guys. Instead of bickering back and forth and you know how Officer, I don't know, maybe Officer DeJango was like, if they would just let Ben Crump go, the boys could give them information, and having to be like, please, Warren, can you tell us what you saw? Please, Jax, please. Instead of having to beg for information and sit and bark and roll over like a dog, and maybe if you make us happy, maybe then we'll tell you what we know about Warren. What we know about Nolan. Instead of all that, baby, let's get into this. It targets a neutral corporate third party. Now, I took notes. Private maritime towing corporations do not answer to Jackson County Sheriff or even local state politicians. They answer to federal compliance and corporate liability. That's right. Let's wake it up with the wrongful death suit, but more importantly, the federal compliance. Because things are federal compliance, everything needs to be documented, recorded, and there has to be a log. But it gets deeper. Listen to this, right? Listen. One, they're pushing for the unredacted hot mic audio and dispatch recording. Now, do you guys remember the leaked audio? And it wasn't really leaked. It was released by MDNR. But there was audio from the emergency call that included background voices shouting heavily debated phrases. Now, get this. The defense attorneys quickly went on national news claiming that it was doctored or just boat sinking panic. But this is the trap. CETO's corporate data servers record multi-channel, high-fidelity master tracks. By subpoenaing the files directly from the parent company, the family's independent audio engineers will get the original, uncompressed audio files before any compression or masking occurred. If these raw tracks do show, and many people believe it will, that there were people who were trying to revive Nolan on the boat hours before they told police he vanished, the accidental drowning on the island narrative is destroyed. Now, again, we are not saying that the boys at all are involved. We're just trying to find out what happened to Nolan, but that CETO call might be the first key. What's more, the GPS, you guys, breaking update in the Nolan Wells case, they have issued a new round of subpoenas. And this one, baby, when I say, if you had something to do with either Nolan's tragic ending or the way Nolan was found, baby, you might as well turn yourself in right now, because Ben Crump, Ahmad Smith, the NAACP, who else? Eric Hart, Nolan's parents, baby, they have done a checkmate. It's over for you. It's over for that DA, and it's over for that small town. Assuming they had something to do, baby, the cover up, the conspiracy, anything that is going wrong is about to be brought to life. And baby, guess what? They're not going through the small town politics. They're done begging the DA for anything. Okay? They are going to federal compliance. And I know what you're saying, Tisa, it sounds boring, but as I get into this, I'm going to tell you how the cover up, if there is one, is about to be exposed in full color. And there's nothing the lawyers, there's nothing the DA, there's nothing the governor of Mississippi, there's nothing no one can do to stop it. All right, guys, let's wake this up. So where do we come at it? Well, let's think about it, okay? We do remember when, unfortunately, Nolan had his 19th heavenly birthday. May he rest in peace. And I thought it was a bit of cruelty that the DA put a letter out the night before, warm release text that made it look like, what? This make you look more, right? And I was like, what are they trying to do? Well, it looks like Nolan's family got up the day after, wiped their tears, and they issued a new round of federal subpoenas. But let me tell you what these subpoenas are, and let me tell you why they are the end game. Everything we've been asking, everything we've been wanting, everything we've been curious about, baby. I will say one thing. Well, let me get into the story, but let me just say this. I do believe that, Loki, I do believe that if that town had been slightly empathetic, cared a little bit about the, even didn't treat her like she was dirt on their shoe, talking about something, we told you what happened to your boy and all this stuff. I really do think the town would have gotten away with it if the town had something to do with it. I think that because they were so cruel, because they were so cold-blooded, that is why they were forced to do this, and that is why they are getting even more than they bargained for. Okay, hold on. Okay, now the source of this is TMZ. I think that Ocean Springs ran to TMZ to get, hey, wah, but TMZ can't save you from this, okay? Now get this. TMZ has obtained 2 new subpoenas filed Thursday on behalf of Nolan's estate. One, and I think this is Ahmad Smith's law firm, one for CETO Services International, and another from Reward Marine Services, which operates at CETO, Mississippi. For CETO, she basically wants everything connected to the July 4th incident from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m., including calls, recordings, dispatch records, and documents showing who handled the response. She's also asking for CETO's training.
Secret Service Sam here, and Christine Walmsley is subpoenaing the hell out of them right now. She has filed a series of legal subpoenas targeting social media, technology, and marine service companies to investigate her son's final movements and communications surrounding his death. Now, social media and tech companies, as we know, she filed in Jackson County Chancery Court. The initial subpoenas target Meta, Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, Snap, Snapchat, WhatsApp, and the tracking app Life360 to secure GPS logs, messages, and deleted content. Marine and dispatch records. Additional subpoenas target marine services, including CETO and Ward Marine, requesting dispatch logs, radio recordings, and communications tied to the July 4th incident. Now, the family's legal team is seeking clarity after reporting discrepancies in location tracking and concerns over wiped or deleted messages from his phone. So in layman's term, Thank God we are going to find out what happened on those CETO logs. We're going to get all the recorded calls. We're going to find out who's on it. I'd like to find out who that park ranger is. Can we subpoena the park ranger? Thank God for the team, the dream team as we're calling them, because now we are going to get some answers that they have not wanted to give us. Secret Service Sam out, Samson for president of the world.
Nolan Wells' case just got hot. Just when they thought they had the upper hand, Nolan Wells' estate just came in with guns a-blazing. And that's what we're going to talk about. But before we get into that, I need you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so that you're alerted the next time I upload a new video. That's right, Nolan Wells' estate just filed a subpoena for the CETO call. And that's what we're about to talk about. As of August 20th, 2026, the estate of Nolan Wells has subpoenaed the CETO call. That's right. See, this is why they were so upset that Nolan Wells' parents opened an estate on behalf of Nolan Wells. See, they thought they were only going to come with lawsuits and a money grab and this, that, and the other. It's so much more that that estate can do. But if you are not privy to it, then you don't know. You just think it's all about money. No, it's about justice at the end of the day. These people want justice for their son. And since everyone wants to say the transcription that Janetta Brantley did on the CETO call wasn't legit, it was gibberish, everything that she was talking about, it wasn't, you need the original. Okay, I told you. The loudest in the room is always the weakest person. That's the weakest link, because they're always doing this when the quiet person over there is doing this. When I tell you there will be justice in Nolan Wells' case, that's exactly what I mean. When they get that, they have 21 days to turn over the original CETO call, and the professionals will transcribe it. They will do exactly what Janetta did. The background voices, pull them to the front. Take away the extra, and you'll hear exactly what was said during that call. And guarantee we will come out with victory, because they are going to come back with the same exact thing as Janetta Brantley did. She gave all her credentials. What she did was legit, but they had to debunk it some way, somehow. And now look what you did. It's amazing. Let me explain something to you. No one is above the law. And this is what every single American needs to understand. This justice system, it has to change. These two cases between Nolan Wells and Carmelo Anthony, I said it once and I'll say it again, is going to go down in history for Texas and for Mississippi. Because look how everything happened. Another case came about after Carmelo's case, and the tables was turned on it. And what did they want to claim? Oh, it wasn't them. They didn't do it. He drowned. Yeah, I bet. Well, we'll see in 21 days now, won't we? The estate of Nolan Wells has spoken, and the original CETO call has been subpoenaed. Let me know how you feel about this new information.
Formerly in the public defender's office, they try a ton of cases. Philip, first of all, has she turned it into police? She said she was. If she hasn't, I give her no credibility at all. Look, I want this to be true. Why? Because I want the video. I want to see the timestamp on the video. I want to see, was he still on Horn Island at 4:30 when his acquaintances on the Triton boat left? I want that video. And if she hasn't brought this forward to LE, law enforcement, then it means nothing to me. I mean, if I know a young man turns up dead in the water, and I know there's a controversy surrounding this, I mean, we know she knows that because she's gone online and posted it, then why not hand it over to police?
Agreed. And it should go to the grand jury for part of their investigation. But I got to tell you, if I were cross-examining her, should this even go to trial, the first question I'd ask her on that 4th of July, what she had been drinking. Before that video got activated, everybody would want to
put him up.
Drinking and smoking. You know how many people were partying
Okay, man. Have you lost your mind?
When I tell y'all we're in this fight by ourselves, we're in this fight by ourselves, bruh. None of these people want to see justice. None of them. When it comes to this situation, in this case specifically this case, these people act like they don't have common sense. These people all of a sudden lose all rationality. They lose all common sense. This man, right, who is an actual attorney, is hearing a woman say, yo, I seen Nolan Wells have an altercation with somebody shortly before his disappearance. And he says, well, was she drunk? Was she drinking? Excuse me? What? Now, shout out to Nancy Grace, because Nancy Grace she shut this conversation down shortly after this. Like, she shut this conversation down. She said, I'm good, bro. Like, you straight. Like, you could go. And she redirected her focus to Tatum. Now, what Tatum had to say about this was the most interesting. What Tatum had to say about this left me floored, left my mouth, my jaw, everything on the floor. I couldn't believe what I was hearing Tatum say.
Brandon Tatum is joining us. So after all that, all you have to say is, was she drinking? That's your takeaway from that? Joining me is Brandon Tatum, former police officer, Tucson, now star of The Officer Tatum on YouTube, who famously has interviewed the acquaintances who all say they had nothing to do with it. Let's just put that out there. He's interviewed them extensively. I want to talk about not what you want to talk about, Brandon Tatum, which is they had nothing to do with this, because I met them and I believe them. So noted. Can we talk about a potential witness to an altercation? And she seems to suggest it was over Katie. Why? Don't know what the altercation was. Maybe it was, hey, leave her alone and get on the boat. Or leave her alone, she's my girlfriend. Or it could be anything. But if there is a witness placing Nolan seemingly in the water, I can't tell that, but having an argument with another person, a partier at Horn Island, that is significant. It could prove or disprove your friend's timeline.
Well, Nancy, I think that it's a big obstacle to climb here, because I've never heard of this altercation whatsoever. No.
Tatum, what? Tatum, hell ain't hot enough for you, bro. Hell ain't hot enough for you, bro. You've never heard about this altercation before, Tatum? Wait, hold on, Tatum. No, I didn't hear that right. Play that. Nah. He didn't say that.
Your friend's timeline.
Well, Nancy, I think that it's a big obstacle to climb here, because I've never heard of this altercation whatsoever. Nobody that I've talked to have alluded that this altercation was real.
These people lie so much they can't even keep up with their own lies anymore. They tell so many lies they can't keep up anymore. But I fear this lie that Tatum is currently telling is the most nefarious lie of them all. I fear there's some truth to what we just heard. and Tatum is trying to cover up for it. And here's why. You see, Tatum told Nancy Grace after he heard the story that he never heard about this altercation. Nobody he had any contact with has ever mentioned this altercation before. But this was Tatum approximately 3 weeks ago on his channel talking about this very same altercation. Isn't this you, Tatum?
I received a DM from someone DMing another person. Now I'm trying to leave these names out because I want to not mess this investigation up. I think law enforcement already have this. That alluded to the fact that, and I messaged this person because I want to talk directly to the person that I saw the DM from. And we haven't talked to this person yet. But the person said in the DM to another kid that is associated, not any of the kids that I interviewed to talk to, but that could be associated to some degree, that knew Nolan, that this person wrote a message saying, me and my husband saw you arguing with Nolan, and to the effect of you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. Now, the person did not say they saw a physical altercation. The person did not say what time they saw Nolan and this other person getting into an argument. Now, this is after Warren, their boat left. This may be somewhere around a little bit before 6. What I'm thinking at this point, with all that has been said, is that somebody knows exactly what happened to Nolan, or they saw him right before he died. I am not convinced that Nolan was just out there and drowned.
Tatum was so convinced by that DM that Nolan had an altercation back and forth with somebody that he even went out on a limb to say he believed that somebody knows what happened to Nolan, somebody watched Nolan die, and he don't believe that Nolan drowned. Now, all of a sudden, after Tatum became buddies with the boys' lawyers, after the boy lawyers started to promote Tatum's bourbon and his liquor in all of their interviews, after they essentially got a partnership with Tatum, now all of a sudden, Tatum don't remember ever hearing about this altercation, but that ain't the only lie Tatum got caught in. No. In the last 24 hours, it got exposed. Damn near all of Officer Tatum, quote unquote, sources were all lies. He either made it up himself or he's lying about everything he once knew because he realized those things now implicate his friends and his homies. Allegedly, I don't know, okay? So that man just explained the exact altercation that person is describing. Nancy Grace asked him about the same altercation he already talked about 3 weeks ago. Now, all of a sudden, he has no idea what's going on. He never heard of it. This man needs to be investigated, bro. Tatum needs to be investigated. They need to bring Tatum to the altar, bro. Because you can't keep getting away with this.
And also Katie, whom I saw her text messages, she didn't even say this altercation occurred. What I will say is that if I was an investigator in this investigation, I want to hear that. I want to be able to compare that information to other things that we may have or other witness statements. But I don't think it's significant because it doesn't show if Nolan Wells was actually killed in that altercation. She's claiming that there was an altercation between him arguing with somebody else. There was a potential fight, but that doesn't get me to how did he drown? How did he get in the water, and how did he not recover and come home to his family? So I would take that into consideration. I would compare that to the other interviews that I've done, but I don't think it's significant whatsoever. However, I would be incredibly skeptical because there's no other statements that I've heard from anybody that comes even close to an altercation with Nolan Wells and others over a girl.
Number one, he's dead shortly after an alleged altercation with another male. We think over a woman. See, in my world, I put together both circumstantial and direct evidence. Direct evidence would be, for instance, DNA or a fingerprint. Circumstantial evidence is the timing of the alleged altercation and his death. Right?
Nancy,
so it's hard for me to believe that there's some kind of altercation on Horn Island just before he dies. and they were
But
not
Nancy,
connected. That's hard for me
she's not.
to believe that.
Well, Nancy, she's not saying he lost the fight. She's not saying that he got beat up. If you look at the autopsy, there's no clear signs of blunt force trauma to his face or any of the vital areas that could kill him. So it doesn't appear that there's any indication that he lost a fight, that there was enough trauma in this particular.
You see how Tatum has went from, do you see how Tatum has went from, hey, I was told this, and I'll be real, man. Hey, bro, like, they're credible. And you know, listen, man, I now believe, I don't think he just drowned. I think somebody watched him die. Then shouldn't you still have that exact same thing? It's only been 3 weeks. Shouldn't you still think the exact same thing? Shouldn't you still believe what you said 3 weeks ago, which is, again, Tatum's exact word was, even if they didn't get into a physical altercation, I still believe somebody seen what happened, somebody watched Nolan die, somebody knows what happens. Then wouldn't this person be crucial and pivotal in figuring that out? Why is Tatum all of a sudden going against and attacking the very same information and evidence that he broke? Tatum was the first one to release this information 3 weeks ago. But now he's going against it. Now he's fighting against it. Now he's doing everything in his power to try to, like, underplay it. Why? That's interesting. The only thing I could point to is, man, them boys got Verdict Bourbon in a background. When they do interviews now, they promoting your bourbon for you. So now all of a sudden, you don't want to concede an inch that could, make people look bad. That's odd, Tatum. That's very odd. Very odd here. See, this is not the only lie Tatum got caught up in. Y'all remember when Tatum came on his channel and he claimed that a source that was very credible, a source that's been 150% accurate, they told him that Nolan was on coke on the island. Y'all remember? I'm sure you guys do. Y'all remember that? Well, guess what? This was also a lie.
But what I was told, and you guys, please take in consideration that it's reliable sources. However, the only way to prove the truth in this is if I see it with my own eyes, if the law enforcement have the investigation of this, and also when the toxicology results come out. But people are messaging me and telling me that there is heavy drinking and there's cocaine involved. And there's a particular person whom I know this person's name. I'm not going to disclose it. I'm going to go to the police first, and then I will disclose it if it doesn't interfere in the investigation. But this person allegedly was offering people cocaine, and someone close to Nolan, one of his friends, told me that this person was offered cocaine and rejected it from this person. And I was also told, and this person told me that it's over 100% chance that Nolan was using cocaine during this period of time. This person said it was 150% sure that when the toxicology comes back, that Nolan will have cocaine in his system. Now,
150% if the toxicology come back, Nolan will have coke in his system. Now, here's the thing. Tatum said he was going to go to the police. We haven't heard any update on Tatum telling the police this information. So Tatum potentially knew of a potential drug dealer who could have given Nolan drugs that could have contributed to his death, and Tatum never went to the police, never told him anything. All right? And again, according to him, his source is the most reliable. Bro, he was damn near saying this is true. Like, yo, but once you reiterate, oh, this source have never told me bad information. This source have been accurate 1,000%. They've told me 150% Nolan gonna have coke in his system. Well, according to Nancy Grace and other experts, the toxicology is apparently back. And you know what's not in his system? Apparently coke is not in Nolan Wells' system. Right? So Tatum's quote unquote expert was lying. Tatum was lying. So now I can distinguish between what has Tatum ever said about this case that's the truth.
I know they're saying they're done with the autopsy and that it's complete, which means the gross findings in the autopsy room, the tox, the histology, that means that autopsy report is complete. They just hadn't released their findings yet.
And speaking of that, Joe Scott Morgan, I've heard the same, that the autopsy is complete.
Yeah.
There are reports that there is no cocaine in Nolan's system. That's uncorroborated reports,
Okay.
but a good source. No cocaine in the system.
Yep.
Joe Scott, when the body has been in the elements, such as the water, for that long, how can I confirm if he had been drinking or not?